Important events from the last decade. Collapse of the Soviet Union. In December 1999, the Soviet Union was disintegrated into 15 different countries. This meant the winning of capitalism and democracy over socialism. The main reasons of this collapse were the Soviet Union's economy was on the floor, and also its government was devastated and had many problems with the people. September 11 terrorist attack. The Al Qaeda group sent 4 airplanes to attack different targets in the USA on September 11, 2001. One was the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., another one crashed in the field of Pennsylvania, and the remaining two hit the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City. This was the most known one because they were the highest in New York. Around 3,000 people were killed during these attacks. 2008 financial crisis. It has been the worst global financial crisis since the Great Depression in 1929. This was caused at an international level mainly because many banks, such as the Lehman Brothers, were doing excessive risk-taking decisions. It was also followed by the other big international economic crisis. Osama bin Laden's death. On May 2nd, 2011, in a daring raid 120 miles or 192 kilometers inside Pakistan, a team of the U.S. Special Forces flew from Afghanistan to bin Laden's hiding place in the dead of night. They swooped down on the compound in stealth helicopters, swept through the buildings within the high-walled enclosure, and shot a dead of the total of five people, including bin Laden. Digital era. This is the historical period characterized by the existence of digital technology, linked with information and communication technologies. The beginning of this period is associated with the digital revolution. Describe the following terms. Globalization is the connection of different parts of the world. Globalization results in the expansion of international, cultural, economic, and political activities. As people, ideas, knowledge, and goods move more easily around the globe, the experiences of people around the world become more similar. Terrorism. Political violence in an asymmetrical conflict that is designed to induce terror and fear through the violent victimization and destruction of non-combatant targets. They are meant to send a message from an illicit clandestine organization to exploit the media in order to achieve maximum attainable publicity as an amplifying force to influence the targeted audience. Unipolar world is when the main political, economic, cultural, and social vectors are defined by one of the most influential states of the world. One civilization leads on the highest level, leaving others far behind, but at the same time exerting some influence on the rest of the world. Digital era. Historic period in the 21st century characterized by the rapid shift from traditional industry from the Industrial Revolution to an economy based on the information and communication technologies. The phenomenon is that the digital industry creates a knowledge-based society surrounded by a high-tech global economy. Answer the following questions. Why did the globalization emerge? The emergence of globalization was introduced by the need of exchanging products and goods from one country to another. The United States has notably been identified as the leader in globalization after the World War II. In 1993, they introduced the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, which was a movement aimed at eliminating trade boundaries and promoting globalization. In the 19th century, most countries started investing in new forms of transport and communication services. Additionally, there were other transport systems such as the road and air transport and communication forms such as the introduction of the internet and the cell phone. In most cases, what caused the terrorist attacks of the 20th century? There are two main reasons. One is politics. Individuals, abortion clinic bombers, or groups like the Viet Cong in the 1960s can be understood as using terrorism when they are trying to right what they perceive to be social, political, or historically wrong. During the Troubles in Northern Ireland, which stretched from 1968 to 1998, Catholic and Protestant groups waged on ongoing campaigns of violence against one another in Northern Ireland and in England, seeking political dominance. The other reason is religion. In the 1990s, a number of attacks carried out in the name of religion made headlines. In the Middle East, numerous suicide attacks since the 1980s have been celebrated as the work of Islamic martyrs. How does the end of the Cold War relate with the unipolar world? The end of the Cold War meant that the previous decade's superpower rivalry now had ended. There was no longer the traditional East versus West conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union, at least not the way it had been earlier in the 20th century. The United States surfaced as the sole dominating power in world politics as there were no real challengers to their hegemonic position. How has the digital era influenced today's society? It has influenced almost every aspect of our lives. We have TV, computers, cell phones, tablets. We can't live without them. They're part of our daily life routine, making life easier than it was before, giving us first-hand information and data. Plus, we also use them in our free time for entertaining.